just to keep the story short, when those 8 trios of life come together, they create this stuff. This is the 2D representation of the same stuff, as you can see, again delivered on the crop circles on 23rd, July 1995. As you can see, this region is there, this triangle is here, this is this one. In other words, if crop circles are such nonsense, that what the military is doing, there's something extraordinary which actually is happening with the crop circles. On the news, they define it, or actually they deny that everything actually is happening. But when you see the helicopters are heavily present with those orbs of light are present, there's something fishy going on here, right? So this one, Oliver Castle, 11th of August 1996, they have put up tremendous pressure to this guy to try to say, to confess that it is a man-made. Actually, it's not man-made, it's a real footage, how those are created. And there is a message, and I will explain about this later. So as you can see, this one, again, those orbs of light, most of the time those helicopters are there. As I mentioned, more than 30,000 crop circles delivered, and the satellites are keeping the eye closely. So as you can see here on the western part or western coast of Australia, this thing is actually created. Wow. Believe it or not, they're not taking the information arriving by the crop circle for granted. They're really exploring it. They have the funds and the means to test it.
Do you know how big that one is, Pane?
Yes, it's needle feed antennas for radio transmissions with a transmission power of 1 megawatt. It's the most powerful transmission station in the southern hemisphere. I will get to your question. This is how big it is. Those are all antennas. As you can see, this is the real stuff, if you like. And it's all positioned in this way. So they're understanding how the dimensions are penetrating. It's not just the weather that they can control, but they can control many stuff. So we live in the universe which is fractal in nature. As I mentioned before, if you just go to zoom into molecules and atoms, it will continue to go and you will reach an empty space, which is not empty, it's actually just beginning towards the rest. We're talking about 64 layers of the universe, which means fractality goes beyond the 3D reality. The same goes with the brain and the infinitely micro, if you like. It's just matching the infinitely macro, which means this is a brain cell of a mice, if you like, the same is with humans, and this is the universe. So which means from the solar system, we have the sun's neighborhood, and then galactic realm, then we have something which we call local group, and then we have the supercluster. So which means all galaxies are members of groups of our clusters, if you like, right? So those clusters are a part of even larger formations of clusters, if you like, and they're called superclusters. So as you can see on this image here, those are all galaxies, which means it's unbelievable how this universe is. For example, this is the network that we're seeing, and it's more than 1,000 computers and more than 1 month of processing were able to generate those images. So which means just this network here is 125 megaparsecs. Just for your information, one parsec is 3.26 light years. 1 megaparsec is 3,262,000 light years, and 1 gigaparsec is 3.26 billion light years. Our Milky Way is roughly 120,000 light years. So which means our Milky Way is not even this line here on the beginning. That's how this huge thing is, if you like. So we are talking about 93 billion light years what we can observe with satellites and other stuff. In other words, this is the mainstream approach of things, which means they define that everything that we can see is divided in 3 parts. 72% dark energy, 23% dark matter, and 4.6% or something around that, so-called normal matter. By normal matter, I refer as superclusters, clusters, galaxies, solar systems, chemical elements, biological life, DNA, or everything that we can see on the visible spectrum. First of all, terminology is completely incorrect. There is nothing dark about it. Probably the better terminology should be invisible energy, invisible matter, and visible matter. But still, the ETs are saying that these three parts are actually 64, which means there are 64 dimensions, and every of those dimensions has completely different density and different speed of vibration, exactly like this. So fundamental questions regarding to our existence, who I am, or more importantly, what I am. We are infinite consciousness, intelligent life form. And this actually moment that we are speaking, we are attached to these biological bodies, which is not all of the things that we are attached to. We are multidimensional beings, which means, believe it or not, we are attached to 64 vehicles, 64 bodies, or 64 hosts, if you like, that all have different density and different speed of vibration. Because of our low DNA functionality, which I will explain further, we can consciously access the three lowest one, which is the physical, etheric, and astral body, again in the lack of better terminology. This consciousness is literally occupying our bodies. And we are having a human experience, but we are a lot more, like with the radicals that we are seeing, we are immaterial in nature, very energetic. Which means every vehicle that our consciousness is attached to, and they all exist in our auric field, if you like, is matching a particular dimension regarding to the density and regarding the speed of vibration. We can exit and enter those higher dimensions, if you like, through altered states of consciousness, known as meditation, procedures, and similar stuff. So, in other words, believe it or not, our consciousness can operate on 64 frequencies. Which means these biological bodies that we are seeing is just a tiny part of us. We are a lot more. There are procedures that can be done that can launch the consciousness out of this body. So as I mentioned, because of this, only 3% of the active genetic material is difficult to reach those higher dimensions, but I will show you how. At the moment, we are functioning of those so-called double helix functionality, which means you can see me, you can hear me, and you can experience this experience if you like, and certain amount of awareness of the astral dimension in the form of lucid dreaming, shortly out of the body experiences, or eventually near that experience. That's all that's double helix functionality with only 3% of the active genetic material can provide to you. Which means 97% of the DNA is completely unused, disconnected, dormant, if you like. The mainstream literally calls junk, but it's not junk. So as we mentioned, out of those 64 bodies that we just mentioned, this biological body or the physical body is the densest and with the slowest speed of the vibration. And actually is functioning on the slowest frequency, if you like. The etheric body, like we have blood streaming in our bodies, biological bodies, like we have bones, like we have organs, like we have tissue, so on and so forth. We have a perfect duplicate to ours, which really departs the body. This perfect duplicate is full energetic stuff, which means energetic virus. We are talking about something which has 72,000 energetic channels, out of which actually it has also 77 main energy centers, out of which 7 are primary and they're connected with the spinal cord. Every time when there is a departure out of the body during the sleep of the night, which I'll explain also, there is a charge of the energy. I will be showing you and explaining you different processes, and you will recognize that everything is happening to you every single night when you're unconscious, if you like. We have something which is called astral body. Usually people call it lower quality astral body. That's the one which actually you can observe yourself. You can see your own body lying down on the bed and so on and so forth. But it's not so much of a great, which means you cannot move properly, you cannot see properly, and so on and so forth. There are some limitations. Which means this thing every time when we sleep actually goes out. And this lower quality astral body, if you like, it takes all, how should I put it, the reflection of the energy or the particles which the physical body has. It has also the reflection of how the physical body clothings are, that the same thing is reflected on the astral duplicate. So how we know this? Many sources. For example, this is accident that this guy actually lost his life. As you can see, his body is lying down, he's dead, and as you can see, his ghost, whatever you want to call it, is just running towards his dead body, but it's completely the same match as the clothes on his physical body. So as you can see, things are definitely happening. And this is another case where a child died, and there were two balls of, or how should I put it, creatures of light which came. Self-luminescent body. Self-luminescent body is something which you have to tune into with certain procedures regarding to the Kundalini energy rising. There is a way how to access it, if you like. When this body is actually controlled, you can see stuff. You can see, you can fly, you can see the astral bodies of the other people which are sleeping or dead or whatever the case is. With a lower quality astral body, you cannot depart the planet. You reach around 40 Ks and then you hit like an invisible ceiling. There is a blockade and you will never be able to depart the planet. With higher quality astral body, you can depart the planet without any problems. And as I mentioned, I'm doing seminars and also I can explain how it's done. Self-luminescent is because, again, in the lack of better terminology, because I've been around for quite a few years and I have seen and studied and researched all the esoteric literature with a person can get and analyze and check if you like. So this thing is actually producing lights on its own. When you exit with a lower quality astral body, sometimes people report they get stuck into the ceiling. When they're out of the body, sometimes they get stuck, part of the body goes out and the rest does not want to listen, or they cannot move to the wall and so forth, or they fly. Eventually as they fly, they lose the energy and they start to fall down and they wake up, they return back to the physical body. These anomalies are not with a high quality astral body, which means the energy is extremely powerful and you can see auric emanations around it. Which means 64 bodies, and the higher the frequency goes, the more power, the more energy, the more performance is done. But you can use one vehicle only for one dimension, which means what the density and the speed of vibration is concerned. So as you go, the more you go to more, the higher bodies, if you like, the physical appearance starts to disappear, which means male, female stuff starts to disappear, because it's just a temporary condition what human race is talking about. Once when you reach this stuff, and you learn the lessons, if you like, you can depart the planet and leave this 3D reality for sure, if you like. So